Welcome to Tracing Your Family Roots. My name is Arlene Sachs, and I'd like to welcome Dr. Peggy Perlstein. Welcome, Peggy. I'm so glad you can come today. Peggy is the area specialist of the Hebraic section of the Library of Congress. And although her specialty is the Hebraic section, we're going to spend today talking about what you can do at the Library of Congress without ever leaving your home, because so very much has changed. And I'm delighted that you can come here and tell us all about this. And I think what we're going to do is look at some of the web pages, except we've got them on paper, so we don't have trouble trying to connect to internet. And when you first sign on to the Library of Congress, you get this web page. This very first web page. Okay, and then you would clip which to go on. Tell us about we can't really read all the words on there. So
this is the screen that you get when you sign on to the Library of Congress. It's a site that gets 1 billion hits a year, and we hope that your listeners will sign on as well. You can do it 24/7 from your home, from any computer. And almost everything that I'm going to show you today, you will be able to access from your own computer. This is a screen that can take you to all the different reading rooms of the Library of Congress. We've got more than 20 reading rooms in the Library of Congress. And it can also take you to American Memory, where we have digitized more than 8 million items from the library's collection of 18 million books and 120 million items. Got a long way to go, but we've done a lot already.
Yes, I was very, very amazed to see how much you had that was actually online like that.
Absolutely. You can also get music clips and video clips online as well.
Okay, so where do we want to go from here? To the
search? This is the first page, and you would go right back here where it says search the catalogs.
To the search the
right,
catalog.
when you click on here where it says search the catalogs, the first screen that you're going to get will be this basic search screen, which looks a little bit different than the one you get when you come sit in at the computers at the Library of Congress. What I wanted to focus on first was the right-hand side of the page, where there are 3 different separate areas where you can begin searching immediately, not for books, but for prints and photographs, for music, and for searching the catalogs of many other libraries around the world. So that's what we're going to begin with.
Okay, so this is the photographs then?
This is the Prints and Photographs division, and you can access it from that first page.
And what did you type in there?
Okay, I typed in Jews Colchester, and the reason I did that, Arlene, is because I lived in a community called New London, which was close to Colchester. Been to Colchester many different times. Wonderful bakery, terrific challah, I have to tell you that. But I typed in Jews Colchester because I knew what would come up. There are 14 images that have come up that were taken of Jews in Colchester during the Depression era by Jack Delano, one of the most famous of the Depression era photographers. He took photographs of Jews in the synagogue and Jews in the community.
And you clicked on one of them,
I clicked on one of them.
Those are just more
toward the end here, it was the Lappins sitting in their home. And here you can see the actual image of the Lappins sitting in their home. They're reading a Yiddish language newspaper. One of the other interesting things about the Jews of Colchester is that many of them had dairy farms. And in the summer, people would come from New York City to the farms for a vacation. And because they were farmers, they expected to get 3 wonderful meals every single day: fresh eggs, fresh butter, fresh milk. You can click on this image and make it larger. You can also download the image, and you can check by looking at the bibliographic record to see if there are any copyright restraints on the images that you find in the prints and photographs catalog.
If there's a copyright restriction, you could still probably copy it for yourself as long as you're not going to publish it or do something else with it.
Exactly, exactly. You can also get a digital image, or you can get a photographic image by ordering it through the Library of Congress rather than just printing it out as I did. The next section on the right-hand side is part of the music division. It's called the Sonic Catalog. And if you click on it right here on the right-hand side, it will bring you to searching on the catalog, where you can search for records, you can search for radio broadcasts, anything that has to do with sound. And again, I just typed in one simple word, and I think I typed in the word Yiddish, and I was able to pick up some records that were done in Yiddish. So that's another very powerful searching tool. You can search by composer.
Now the music is actually on.
No, the music is not on the catalog searching in this mode. You would have to go into the Library of Congress to listen to the music.
But you know that they have it.
Music, but you would know that they have it. You can search by subject or by keyword.
Okay.
The third area that's on this basic page, all the way down at the bottom, is the fact that the library has given us links to libraries all over the world.
I think this one was fascinating. Now you type, okay, you just click on that and you come up with all of it, and you haven't, of course,
so
copied all of it.
You come up with page, and you can search any letter of the alphabet that you want. I happen to have relatives that lived in the Colorado area, so I scrolled down, and on the next page I found a library in Boulder, Colorado. And I simply typed in Jews, Colorado, or Jews, Boulder, and you can see where I did that here in this screen. And then there were, I think, 9 different hits that I came up with. The top one here is a oral history and a video that was done by someone, a Jewish person who lives in Colorado. Now, something like this, I checked, is not available in the Library of Congress database. The next record is about one of the synagogues in Colorado. And what you often find in these other libraries are materials that are ephemeral, that are done for anniversaries, that are done for special occasions, and they haven't been picked up and gotten for the Library of Congress collections.
But that's a marvelous source if somebody's doing research there. They might hit the ancestor, and if they don't hit a relative, you still get an idea of what life was like. I suppose they could get that through interlibrary loan then.
Then you can borrow those materials on interlibrary loan. And when you go back and search from A to Z, it's not just libraries in the United States, but you will find libraries in Canada, in Spain, in Norway, from all over the world, and take a look at the resources that they have.
So, you know, you could look whatever you're researching at. And of course, those are not going to be in English though, right?
No, well, these here are all in English.
Obviously, but I mean, if you go to the other countries, they're mostly
you may not have them in English. Could be in German, Russian, Swedish,
but
any other kind of language.
One of the key things of doing genealogy, you learn some of the key words in that language, or have somebody write them down for you, and then you can see if there's something available.
Exactly. When we go back to the basic search screen again, I wanted to show you a little trick that we have. And if you go to this page, and then under basic search, you type in the abbreviation for Hebraic reference materials, you type in HEB REF, as you can see at the top here. What it will give you is a listing of all the books in our reference collection in the Hebraic section. There are over 2,000 of them. So when you come to do research at the library and you want to know if we have something, particularly a reference book, you can see if we have it in our own reference collection, rather than in the main reading room collection or in another reading room.
Now, your books are all in Hebrew, though?
No,
they're not
in our
anymore.
reference collection, our books are in all languages.
Oh, okay. But they would be all, Now, how would you enter things that are, for instance, in Hebrew, or
well, this
transliterate it then into English for the catalog purposes?
Yes, you'll have to transliterate it, or as we say, Romanize it, in order to search. For example, the word for book in Hebrew is sefer, and you would have to Romanize it as S-E-F-E-R. But let me tell you and your listeners a little bit of advance news. The library is working on making Hebrew available on the database, and I did see a prototype already, so it's coming down the road, and I would think next year at this time you would be able to both type in Hebrew and access Hebrew on the library's database.
I hope they're not going to remove the English, because I need those Latin letters. I couldn't read it otherwise. So here's an example of some of the books that you got, I guess.
Well, this is another example, and if you look over here, you can see it's another little trick. I typed in AMED-HEBR. AMED stands for the African and Middle Eastern Division. The Hebraic section, along with the African section and the Near East section, make up this African Middle Eastern Division. And if you type that into a basic search, AMED-HEBR, what you'll come up with are all of the newspapers and journals that we have on microfilm and microfiche. Now, genealogists love to look through newspapers, and this will give you an idea of what we have. You can click on a title, and it will tell you the years that we have it and whether it's in microfilm or microfiche.
Now, I know they have a separate room for the microfiche for newspapers and so on. So if these were on microfiche, would they be under the Hebraic section since they're in Hebrew?
Exactly. They're in Hebrew or Yiddish, so that they are in the what we call the custody of the Hebraic section.
What about Jewish newspapers that are written in English or, say, some other language?
Okay. You would either access them through the newspaper and current periodical reading room, or the microform reading room, or in the case of the European division, they do have some materials there in their languages.
Would those show up on this list?
They wouldn't show up on this list because this is just the Hebraic section.
Oh, okay.
But they would show up on the library's basic search catalog.
And that would then tell you which room to go to look them up.
Right. When you click on it and you get the full record, it will tell you exactly what reading room you have to go to. For some materials, you can go to the main reading room, or you can come to our reading room and get them as well if they're English language materials.
Now, in most cases, would you say, well, I guess it depends whether it'd be better to go to the general reading room or to go to, for something that's in your section and you know it's, if somebody knows it's in your section, it's faster to go to your room?
They have to. Nothing in our section leaves our section.
Oh, okay.
But materials from the main reading room can come to the Hebraic section.
Oh, okay.
We also welcome you to our section for any kind of reference advice that you might like, even if it means you have to go back to a different reading room. So if you're doing Jewish genealogy and you want to come and talk to either to me or the reference librarian or someone else, we're happy to help you and then steer you to some other reading room that you might need to go to.
Yeah, when Sally Ann and I did a show once, and one of our first ones about the Library of Congress, I said, well, I always start in the general reading room. And she says, well, I never go there. It was very hard to because our needs were different. And I was doing mostly German research, which I had to go to the general reading room for to get those.
Okay, but we'd like you to stop by and say hello, and who knows what else we can help you with.
Well, I found out that after a while.
And I'd be very upset if Sally Ann came to the library and didn't come by and say hello.
Okay, now you want to do another track of doing American history.
Or American memory. This is also on the library's main page. This is where we have 8 million items digitized. Among those 8 million items, we've got 77 plays in Yiddish out of our collection of 1,200 Yiddish plays. So you can go here and you can search all through different reading rooms and all different kinds of materials, whether it's visual or audio, books, serials, posters, anything like that. And what I usually do is I just click on search and do a general keyword search. And in this case, I did a search for the word Jews, and I got more than 500 hits. And what that really means is the documents that you're going to see here and that you can click on individually for more information, somewhere in those documents, the word Jews appears.
Okay.
You can always be more specific in your search.
If you put down two words, do you separate them by a comma or just a space?
You can put them in. The way the search return comes back as, it will say the two words are exactly next to each other, close to each other, or not close to each other. If you put them in quotes, then you will get them exactly as you type them in.
Okay.
So as I said, we have our Yiddish plays on this site. We also have lots of other material that deals with Jews.
It's interesting that Yiddish plays would be under American.
All of these Yiddish plays were deposited on copyright at the Library of Congress.
Oh, because they were copyrighted in this country.
Right. They were written in this country, copyrighted in this country. And the amazing thing is that these were all done by immigrants.
Yes.
And not only did they write the plays, many of them after working in sweatshops all day long, but they had the good sense to want to protect their creative endeavors, and they sent copies to the Library of Congress.
And they knew enough to do it. And
yeah,
they knew, as a foreigner, you don't usually know that much about as a newcomer, I should say.
Right, they weren't so greener, you know? They had smarts right away.
Okay, and here's just the list of some of them that he found there, I guess.
Exactly, and it'll tell you what collection it comes from, and you can see on there one or two of those Yiddish plays.
Go on to, okay, this was, you can look at the copyrights.
Exactly, you can go back to the home page of the Library of Congress, and you will see Copyright Division. You can click on that. Once you've gotten to this screen, which is the first screen, you can click on registration. And that will take you to all the items that have been registered at the Library of Congress since 1978. If you want materials copyrighted and deposited before 1978, the records, you'll have to come into the Library of Congress. And here, if you click on books, a person's name if you want to search, and I happen to have typed in my name, Perlstein, and all the Perlsteins that have deposited something on copyright since 1978 are listed here.
And that only goes through the letter D, so you've got a lot more to go.
Exactly, and I didn't scroll and go all the way down to find me, Peggy Perlstein, because it's got my age next to it, and I didn't want you to know how old I am. But those of you at home can go ahead and check it out if you want to. These are just a few of the other reading rooms that you can get to from the research centers of the home page of the Library of Congress. What's really new on the Geography and Map reading room homepage is the ability not only to look at maps that have been digitized, but to use a new item called Zazzle. And with Zazzle, you can actually order, and it'll be delivered within 24 hours for a fee, a map that you find. You can choose different frames for the map as well. So for those of you who want to include maps in your family genealogies, this is a wonderful way to do it, or if you just want to hang it up on the wall.
That's incredible, everything that they've added. I mean, I've been there, and I've been in the geography room and looked for old maps and so on. That you get it all at your fingertips now.
Absolutely.
And I guess here are some of the little, just tiny maps that you could actually choose from. You really won't be able to see much of that.
Right, if you click on the map, then you'll get a larger image. And so these are the examples of some of the maps that you can have framed.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, that was that.
Okay, if you go back to research centers and click on the one for the African and Middle Eastern Division, that's where I work. And here you can see the home page for the African Middle Eastern Division and the Hebraic section. One of the new things that we've done throughout the library is create what are called portal pages. And here you can see pages from our division for 70 different countries. If you click on Israel, you will get a screen that will show you all kinds of information that you can click on. You can click on genealogy, you can click on libraries, archives, all kinds of information of interest to people about Israel. And we've done this for countries all over the world as well.
And there's even the recreation and travel, I guess, if you're going there. And I did ask Peggy before I asked you about things like Yad Vashem and University of Jerusalem. All of those would be listed under the libraries
and archives, and you ought to be able to click on the websites directly from there.
And do you know if those are in Hebrew or in English?
Those would probably be in English, or you would have a choice to search in Hebrew or in English. What I have here is a screen that you will only get at the Library of Congress.
Okay, so this sort of, before we get into that, this sort of is what you can do from at home.
Absolutely.
I mean, you get every country that you want, every pictures, books,
video clips, audio clips, all kinds of things that you might want to look at from home, and you don't have to leave the comforts of your family room and your computer to do the searching.
Now, the rest of these that we're going to look at now are ones that you do have in order to use. They are databases that are commercially available, so it is possible that a large library might have them.
Exactly.
One or more of them, but probably not all of them.
Right, right. We have an increasing number of databases by subscription. And I just wanted to show you some of the ones that might be most relevant to Jewish genealogists or any genealogist. And this is the page that you get only at the Library of Congress, and you can click on subscription services or electronic resources.
Okay, there's also an online catalog and the Library Research Centers and the Library of Congress public website.
But you would want to click on electronic resources or sources. And once you get there, you would want to click on here, subscription databases.
Okay.
The databases are divided by subject if you want, or there's an A to Z list. And I just did the pages or beginning pages of 3 of them that are really wonderful for searching for biographical material on individuals. And you can see those on the next pages.
Oh, so you used the biographic tools.
Exactly.
Is what you clicked on.
Right. Here's a listing of all kinds of journals that the library has in electronic form. Some of them are full text, some of them are not. Well over 15,000. A few of them may be useful to genealogists. So you're welcome to go in, look around.
So when you click on these, I mean, you just click journals, or can you limit your search then to, say, genealogical ones, or
no,
you sort of have to leaf through them and see which ones you want, and then you can click on it and read it right there, or print it off, you said.
Right. So here's one of the more popular ones. This is the newspaper database. And that's something that would probably be available in large public libraries in the greater Washington area. New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, goes all the way back to the beginning. Wonderful for obituaries, doing keyword searches of individuals.
And you can do like keyword search on any of those?
Yeah. And the good thing, although you've got to come into the Library of Congress, you can sit there and print to your heart's content, no charge, from these subscription databases. Here are Sanborn Maps, which is also wonderful for genealogists to really hone in on where people lived. And these maps have been digitized, and you're welcome to print those out as well. All right, and these are the 3 databases that deal with biographical material on individuals. If you just go through them, there's this first one, the Biography and Genealogy Master Index, Biography Resource Center, and here's the third one. And you simply type in the name of the individual. In some instances, you will get everything on that individual, what they've written, where to find information about them. Some of these others will simply give you the citations where more information will be found, a who's who, for example. but still very useful. Millions of entries among these 3 databases. And the last one that I wanted to show you is called the Ethnic News Watch. And what's wonderful about this is it picks up small ethnic newspapers, including Jewish newspapers from around the country that you wouldn't normally be able to see.
Is it something like Mishpocha, which is our local genealogy newspaper, on something like that?
No, it's...
Avotena would be listed.
No, actually that wouldn't be listed either because they're considered journals.
Oh, okay.
Rather than newspapers. So in an A to Z choice, I clicked on J, and here you can see a number of different Jewish newspapers. Now, some of these we have at the Library of Congress in what we call hard copy or in microfilm. But you can click on these and take a look at the text itself right there, printed off the computer screen. In some instances, they're smaller Jewish newspapers from different communities around the U.S. where the Library of Congress hasn't started to collect them. So this is the only place that you'll be able to find them.
Okay. And then, of course, I guess if anybody wants the back issues, you started this, well, the earliest date I see is 1991. So some of these that have been going longer, they could, of course, write to whoever's publishing it.
Exactly.
And find out information.
On the Ethnic News Watch, it's something that started probably in the past 10 or 12 years. And so the newspapers are online from that time period forward and carrying forward.
Yeah, I want to mention that this particular one was ProQuest. That's the one I've heard a lot about of being so marvelous, and that definitely was a Library of Congress advantage that we can go there and look at that.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much, Peggy. It's been marvelous. I hope everybody's learned as much as I have about this because it was very interesting for me.
Good. Thank you for having me on the show, and I hope everyone will at least click on the Library of Congress website and then perhaps come make a visit.